Hi everyone, I'm Lisa and welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. I promised you last week a really cool box to store those monogram note cards that we made. And here it is. It is a Lisa Curcio original, and that's a big deal sometimes in the studio. Designing takes lots of time. Well, you know that. That's why you watch the videos, because we learn from each other. So I knew I wanted something to store these adorable note cards in, but I knew it needed to be small and I knew it needed to be easy. And you're going to love this. Let's go over to the stamp table and get started. Oh, and by the way, before we do that, I need to tell you something. I taught this project at my semi-annual retreat, which was just in March. We're having another one, October 24th. Reserve your space now. I have a limited amount of space available, and you can do so by going to my events tab on my blog address above. And I hope that we'll get to see you there. We have a great time. Come on over. Let's go stamp.
Isn't this really neat? I'm really happy with how it turned out. Now I'm going to tell you that this one is my prototype that I actually made ready in January. So it's loved. It's a little abused, but the one I'm going to demonstrate from you will look a lot crisper. The belly band slides off around the box, and then there's a vellum overlay that holds the 6 note cards with the envelopes. So let's get started on giving you the instructions. To create the box, you're going to need a piece of cardstock. This is Pear Pizzazz, and this measures 5 3/4 by 7 1/4. And we're going to use our paper trimmer, or you can use your Simply Scored scoring tool to do the scoring. Remember, your light blade is for scoring. So all you're going to do is you're going to score 1 inch all the way around all 4 sides. So I'm actually lining it up over here, much easier on this side when it's just an inch. So 1 inch, and then turn, and 1 inch, and we're going to do this all the way around. Use your bone folder, and you're going to go over those creases to make them nice and crisp. Now once your creases are made, we're going to go ahead and do some snipping so we can put the box together. So there's 2 crease lines here and here. I know they're going to be difficult to see on the video, so I'm going to point them out. You're going to use your paper snips, and you are going to snip up from the end right to where that other score line is. And you're going to do this on these 2 sides and on these other same 2 sides. I'm folding these to the inside so you can see how they're going to go. Now you're going to put those together on both sides. I highly recommend sticky strip. You don't want your 3D projects falling apart. I'm a big fan of sticky strip. It's very strong, but I will tell you it's called sticky strip for a reason. So I have a dedicated pair of scissors in my stamp studio just for them. So that's going to work, and I'm going to do that all the way around. Now once you have your sticky strip on, it's really important that you burnish it, which just means rub it in really well. That's going to make it a lot easier to take the paper off the other side. If you're having difficulty getting the paper off, I find my paper piercing tool is a wonderful thing. I keep my fingernails really short because of all the ink. So here we go. I'm going to roll this up a little bit. I went a little bit too far here. Did you see that? So I can roll it back on itself. And I am going to attach my corners. Now our box is put together. We're now going to do the top. This is a piece of vellum that's cut 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. Again, I'm going to use my trimmer because I find it works great. The scoring tool scores, but it doesn't rip, and that's what I love. And now you're going to score it at 3/4 of an inch just on 2 sides. So this is a square, so it doesn't matter which side. So 3/4 of an inch here is going to be here, right before the one on this side. Much easier to go from this direction. So I'm going to score on both sides here. And you're going to see it's really a faint white line. Now since this is vellum cardstock, it's a lot sturdier. So I'm going to recommend that you take your hands and you lightly just crease that so that you have some positioning. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go over it with our bone folder. You need a nice crisp crease to make this stand up inside of your box. I'm going to open these up a little bit because I don't want them too bowed. And this is going to be the lid. But here's the next secret. I want you to cut these ends on a little bit of an angle. And the reason you're doing that, I find it slides in and out of the box a lot easier. And I'll show you what I mean in just a second. See, look how that fits in there just perfectly. Now let's do the belly band. This is a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and this is cut 2 1/2 by 11. I've also cut a piece of Designer Series paper, and this is 1 1/2 by 12. What we're going to do first is we are actually going to emboss this with the embossing folder called Spring Flowers. Now, I've tried lots of ways to do the score marks on this, and I'm going to be honest with you, when I actually taught this at my retreat, I told them the easiest way is to actually just pinch it as they go around the box. So I'm going to use this one over here because it has my cards in it, so it's a little sturdier. So all I'm going to do is going to center this here, and I'm just going to kind of pinch it so I kind of know where it's going to go. So I'm going to do the same thing. I know you're thinking that's kind of rudimentary, but you know what? It works. So now that I have an idea, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make sure that my paper is straight, and I'm going to crease. The other thing you want to make sure is that you don't make the belly band too tight, because if you do, then you can't get it on and off of the box. So there we go. We're all set to go. So I'm going to fold this now like this, and I'm going to put it in the embossing folder. So here's my Big Shot. Taking all the tabs off, so I'm straight down to the hard bottom. You're going to use one acrylic mat on the bottom to protect it, and then your project, and I always like to go opening first to protect that crease. Clear mat on the top, and then we're just going to crank this through. That leaves us with this. Now our designer series paper, that's going to get adhered right down here. I used my snail adhesive for this, and it worked fine. You're going to want to be generous, so we're going to lay this flat, and we're going to put our designer series paper here, right down the middle. Now, before you get too carried away and you crease it really hard, I want you to pinch the designer paper on those creases that we made. And then I'm going to rub from the back to make sure that it's secure. And you can see here how I've got too much paper, so I'm just going to snip these off on both sides. Here's our box. Belly band. It's going to come around. Look how well that fits. Isn't that great? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere these together to put a piece here. And I'm going to put another piece on this end. When you do this and put this together, make sure you do it while it's on the box so that you don't make it too tight. So now we're just wrapping. I'm making sure that my seams on both sides are even. And again, that it's not too tight so that it'll slide. Now we're going to work on the embellishment. I'm going to use the Pear Pizzazz ink. And this is one of the frames from the 4 frames stamp set. It's been around for a while, but I love it because it coordinates beautifully with our decorative label punch. Do you remember me telling you last week about this upcoming project, and I said, remember I use crisp cantaloupe to color in the flowers on my note cards? Well, now is why, because I'm going to bring in that same color with the words. This says, to you from me, and I'm using crisp cantaloupe, and that's going right inside my frame. Decorative label punch matches this frame stamp set, so we are just going to punch this out. And then if you've watched any of my videos for a while, you know how much I love dimensionals, and I'm going to put a couple right here on the back. So this is the one I've just made. Here's the 6 note cards. So I'm taking the vellum lid out. Those are going to go in here. And then the vellum lid fits in so nicely because of those angled edges. And then our belly band will slide right on. I hope you thought that this project was as awesome as I did. Just a great way to present these monogram note cards. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you know you can buy all these fabulous products in my online store. Come back next Monday. I've got another great tutorial for you. Have a good week.